Welcome back to today's counter discussion, whereby I'm joined by Sylvain Boko, and we are going to talk about the economic outlook of Africa and even in Kenya. And he has more on the economic situation, and he's gonna be here to join us, and we will be talking more. Welcome so much, Boko.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So moving on swiftly, how can you describe the economic outlook of Africa in general?
Yes, thank you very much. It is the observation right now that Africa as a continent, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, we have slowed down in terms of economic output. There was about a few years ago, the African economy they were growing at 5, 6, 7, sometimes even 10% when you look at Ethiopia, for example, and Rwanda. Now, the average rate of economic growth has slowed down to about 3.6%, which, of course, is a bit concerning in terms of future outlook for the continent. It doesn't mean that things cannot go back to where they were a few years ago. In other words, with the right attention paid to economic policy, particularly the types of planning that is taking place in countries, particularly the types of investment that is taking place in countries, and particularly investment in infrastructure. Those are kind of opportunities that can be explored and exploited by African countries, so that the growth rate that we saw 5 to 10 years ago could be back up. Of course, the external conditions are also important in terms of the trade, how Africa is trading with the external world. Africa, as you know, is contributing maybe about 2% to the international trade today. So we have a lot to do to catch up as a continent in order to be able to be where we want to be. And of course, for that, it would take being able to create value on our products. So the reason that we are 2% of international trade is because most of the things that we are selling are primary products. You understand? So we go, essentially you dig up and then you export it. Yes. Essentially, without the transformation, value addition. And this is where I think we need to do a lot of work in order to create a value here on the continent. The more value we create, we add to our products, the more wealth we create. And the only way that you can say that you are developing is really if you consistently and in a sustainable manner, are able to create and add value to the things that you want to sell to other people. And so I think we have a lot of work to do there throughout the continent. You understand? Yes. It brings me to the issue of industrialization, of course, because if you look at the way that we are operating our economies today, you have a preponderance of agriculture. Of course, that's not bad. Again, it's the kind of agriculture that we're talking about. You understand? Not much mechanized, and therefore not much productive yet in terms of, again, the potential of the continent, in terms of the massive amount of arable land that is existing on the continent that can be put to use, properly with the proper investment, so that agriculture can actually lead industrialization. If you know what I'm saying. In other words, you can go from the production of these goods, and then you put them through transformation, and that can be the pathway towards industrialization. So those are sort of some of the issues. Of course, you can work into that, the need to be able to invest in our youth, because those, if you look at the population makeup of the continent,
Yes.
You have those who are between, let's say, that range of 18 to 35, 40
Yes.
years old are the majority.
Uh-huh.
And they are facing issues of those who are lucky enough to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
When they come out, who's going to employ them?
Yes.
You understand? How are they going to find quality, well-paying jobs
Yes.
so that they can also start to contribute to the future growth of the continent? I think that's a huge issue
Yes.
that the leadership of the continent is really
Needs to
grappling with today.
consider,
You know, and you know what is the type of investment that you need to do in order to be able to absorb, you understand, your youth, so that they are productive members of society. What kind of education do you give them? What kind of training do you give them? What kind of opportunities do you create in order for them to be able to be included fully in the economic sphere of countries? So those are some of the issues.
Wow, that is very interesting, giving an outlook of how African is behaving in terms of economic growth. And if we look at some of the things that I would like to comment on, is that you have mentioned agriculture. We can see in Africa we have a huge chunk of land in Africa, actually, and we have not really even touched the resources that we have here in Africa.
Yes.
We have a lot of resources I think in every country in Africa we have resources that can be tapped. In Kenya we have oil, in Congo we have gold, in Uganda we have so much natural resources that can be tapped. Our leaders knows about this, but we are seeing those foreign countries coming into our countries with a lot of these finished products that we cannot actually refine or do better than it, and they already know. But why are we allowing so much importation, export to Kenya or in even Africa without even considering what we can do, like leaders, what can they do to like avoid this export to this African continent?
Yes, it's a very good question. You know, we have been conditioned in Africa over the decades, I would say. We have been conditioned to think that whatever comes from abroad is what's good.
Yes.
And even to not pay any attention to what we ourselves can do. You understand? So if you have this conundrum where this is a land, I'm talking about the continent, that is so rich and yet so poor.
Yes, that is my question.
You understand? And that is, and that's the crux of I think when you think about economic policy makers today, if they are not tackling that issue, then they are not going to be successful. You understand? So we must encourage, and I'm seeing that in Kenya more and more, for people not only to want to produce locally, but also to consume locally.
Locally, yes.
Because if you yourself are not consuming what you are producing, you cannot entice others to come and do that. So if you, for example, you have countries where when you just pronounce the name, if you say Germany, right, the first thing that comes to mind is quality.
Yes.
It's BMWs.
It's
you understand?
Yes.
If you say France, you know, it's beauty products.
It's beautiful.
And so on. But like you said, the primary inputs into all of these industries that we see throughout the European, American, etc. world come from Africa. A lot of them. And so why is it that, you know, we can't ourselves, today where knowledge is free, you can really, you can go online and learn how to build something, actually, today. So there is absolutely no reason why we must continue to do things the way we are doing it. where we are not taking time to learn how to turn our own products into finished products. Because you know, the more we continue to do what we are doing, the poorer we will get. Because what happens, somebody comes and buys, let's say, a ton of something, of minerals, whatever it is, gold, whatever, from you, let's say cobalt, right? You know, so they pay you $1,000, let's say. Okay, they go out with the cobalt, they go there, they then refine it, not only refine it, they make computers, they make cell phones, they make your iPad,
and then they come
back and sell it to you at $3,000, $4,000,
so unfortunate.
You are getting poorer, even though you are the owner of the primary inputs that went into the production of those things. So that is to me, the leadership has to go through an attitude change, mentality change in the way that they are making decisions, and lead the people in seeing, right, what's wrong with the situation, and not only what's wrong, but what we can do, which we can do now. We can implement some of these things now. It starts with, you know, putting together basic production units, you understand, that can take whatever comes from our earth, our soil, and put it through transformation. Again, it doesn't today, even making a car today, all it needs is investment. Making a car, it's already known, it's knowledge that's there, that we can take advantage of. We can leapfrog a lot of steps that people in the past have had to go through in order to be able to industrialize. So I'm throwing a challenge to leadership as well in Africa.
Do you know, you're saying things that are making me want to cry on air, because some of these things that you're saying are things that it is common knowledge. These are things that our leaders already know about it, but yet they continue allowing it to continue happening here. But the first thing that you have mentioned, and I've liked it a lot, is that we need to embrace ourselves. We need to love what you already have first. Because how can we then try to sell somebody something that I myself don't like it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can see that in our leaders have really a big role to play, because when it comes to implementing policies, then now it comes a bureaucracy of it. We have to form a task force to handle this. We have to form this, to do this. Why can't the government just go straight on and say, we are doing this?
Yes. So it is true that in every country that has gone through what I may call the development process, right, where you go from a situation of low productivity and low income to a situation of high productivity, high income, like we are seeing in China now, like we are seeing in Malaysia, like we are seeing in the Asian tigers, right? Those Asian tigers, by the way, 30, 40 years ago, were at the exact same level as Kenya, as Ghana, and so on.
And we are celebrating, we just celebrated 50 years.
Exactly. Yes. And we're still here, and they're up there, they're up there. So, but every one of those have had to rely on a good, functioning public administration that knows, that has the capacity, that has a mindset focused on a national purpose and a national goal, and that has the leadership behind it, that it basically is in the driver's seat. That's what we have not managed, I think, in Africa to understand. That we need to be in the driver's seat. Yes, you can get advisors, you can get whatever from, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be continuing to depend on so-called technical advice or whatnot from elsewhere, they are going to come and tell you things to do that will be in their interest, not in your interest. So the only way that you can advance in order to promote your own national interest is if yourself you're making the decisions.
Can I say something
Please.
though? You're getting me thinking like, are our leaders really doing things that benefit us, or they have strings being pulled on the side? Like, for example, we have seen so many investments in this country from China, and before we were relying so much on the Western world, whereby we would request for loan grants from the US, the UK, and the loan grants were very high priced, but we would still pay and we would be granted the loans. But now we are seeing that we are facing the aids for these loans. Can I say, is it politically correct for me to say that that our leaders are being, I don't want to say forced, but are they being put in that position of they have no choice? Like, if you don't do this with us, then we are not going to give you loans, because apparently our government needs such loans to advance.
So here's the reality of things,
Yes.
right? It is today. It would be difficult for any country that is developing and trying to move ahead to do it on its own.
Yes.
The reality is that you do need outside investment, but the issue is whether that outside investment is investment that you also choose and that is serving the purpose of your own national goals and purpose. That's the issue. So if somebody is investing because you have under your soil you have a lot of minerals and mines and so on that they want, and therefore they come and then you count that as foreign direct investment.
Yes.
They are not creating any good paying jobs. They are not manufacturing anything in your country.
Yes.
They just come and they essentially mine and take it out. The railroads that they build, the railroads go from where they are mining directly
to the port.
To the port. So that is not going to be a type of investment that will lead to your development ever. So if somebody is coming to invest, let them come here. Let them set up the production facilities here. Let them come and hire your own people. We see this in Ethiopia, by the way, right? How they are dealing with
foreign investors.
Yes, you understand?
Yes.
Where they are creating, right, these industrial parks, huge industrial parks. And you have the Chinese, the Americans, whatever, from there coming there, but they are setting up the production facilities there, and they are employing Ethiopians. And so even sometimes you will see a foreign manager for some time, but they are training an Ethiopian manager. You understand? And then after some time, that one takes over. And so you are actually creating jobs for your own people, even if the source of an investment is from abroad. And of course, at the end of the day, you can't either last long on borrowing. Let me just say that. You cannot last long on borrowing.
God. And you know what? Because our time has run out, I just want one comment, because this is a question that is burning and we don't got time, just in like one line. Why isn't Africa trading with African countries? Why don't we have that good inter-African trade?
Yes, it's a very good question, and Africa, for once, has actually now realized that, and they just passed the Continental Free Trade Area and Agreement, which actually now is supposed to promote and drive intra-Africa trade. So I think to be followed up by you in a few years, I hope, but it's happening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think the time was too short. My director is not fair on me, but other programs have to move on because now it's coming to 4, and the 4 bulletin has to go on. So
thank you.
My viewer, thank you so much for joining us today, and it's been a pleasure. We had Sylvain Boko today, and it's been a pleasure. We've had so much information. As they say, information is knowledge. Do join us and don't move. Thank you so much for joining us.